Hey Tony, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. Doing well. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on to Indispensable Appraisers podcast. So let's start off with, who's Tony? What do you do? What's your company? Love to get some feedback on that.
Sure. I've been an appraiser for about 40 years, Jeff. Got into the business quite by accident, but have loved almost every minute of it. Today, I'm in a unique role that combines a lot of my former experience as an appraiser with very cutting edge technology. The company I work for is called Resb.ai. They're located in Barcelona, Spain, and the business is computer vision for real estate. And my focus is adopting or adapting all of this technology to fit the appraisal industry.
And that is, we talked a little bit earlier, that's primarily or solely residential property.
Yes, just residential.
And can you describe so what does it do for, I'm not, but if I was a residential appraiser, what does it do for you?
It's going to help appraisers much like a calculator does. I know appraisers are able to go through a home and do an inspection, just like we're able to do math with a pencil and paper. But computer vision can recognize objects from a photo and put it into data. Similar to what I see in your background are some books. If the books are introduced into a model enough times over and over again, it starts to recognize, just as we learned, oh, that's a book. And if you can see it in a picture at a high level, so can computer vision. And so it's going to aid appraisers and those that are non-appraisers to do the inspection in a more accurate manner. And appraisers that receive information from a third party can have more trust in the information that they're receiving.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I love technology. So let's jump onto the valuation industry in general. What do you think the appraisal industry, in the profession, what are we winning at? What are we doing a great job of?
I think today we're making great strides in bringing new appraisers and new individuals to become appraisers into the industry. The effort from Fannie Mae, the Appraisal Institute, and many of the large national banks in collaboration with those two to promote the industry and get new people in is fantastic. And I think that's the key to staying relevant. If all of the appraisers are our age at some point, there will be no appraisers. So we have to replace the profession to stay relevant.
Any other items? You mentioned before you're a USPAP instructor. Would you say we're winning at just the trust of the industry as it relates to the public?
That's a really interesting question. I wish more appraisers really understood USPAP because that's the one unique feature that appraisers bring to the table. There's a lot of brokers that will do BPOs or individuals doing evaluations, but appraisers have these set of rules, if followed correctly, produce a credible report. And really, that's the gold standard in the valuation world. So I just, through the education process, I wish more and more appraisers really understood what USPAP is, but then also as technology changes what we do, understand that we can do different things. If we were attorneys, it would be horrible if we only did wills, or a dentist that only filled teeth. There's a lot of other things that appraisers can do, and USPAP allows if we fully understand what USPAP is.
So do you think that the reason that some appraisers are reluctant to do other things is they don't quite understand USPAP?
That's going to sound a little demeaning, but I think there could be greater awareness of USPAP to allow more comfort in doing more unique things. I can do an inspection of a property as an appraiser, and that would be the end of my service. Some people, some appraisers, think anything short of doing the entire appraisal is an uncomfortable place to be. But with the different scope of work and understanding of USPAP, we have so many other opportunities.
Okay, great. And in the industry, what do you think are greatest challenges that we're facing?
I think it's the flip side of that coin. More appraisers need to be more aware of what USPAP allows us to do. I think we have a growing problem of an aging population of appraisers. It's been said that we're stale, male, and pale. And I'm speaking primarily from the residential side, but I think it might also reflect similarly on the commercial side. Average age of an appraiser is in the upper 50s, and I think it's very similar in a lot of other professions. But you can't go to a 4-year college and get an appraiser certificate or a credential like you can an accountant or an attorney, or my daughter's an attorney, my son is an actuary. There isn't a course to become an appraiser, and there's all kinds of other criteria and requirements. So it's more of a challenge to grow the industry, and I think that's, if there aren't enough appraisers, there'll be an alternative to appraisers. I think that's a huge issue for us today.
That's funny. I've never heard stale, male, and pale. I just got back from a sailing race to Mexico, so I'm not pale. I'm male and not stale.
Yeah.
If you, to that point, if you're a younger person looking to get in the industry, a lot of it is asking people that are in the industry. So what is your guess if a younger person was thinking about getting into the industry and they reached out to 10 appraisers, as a percentage, what percentage do you think would be encouraging, whether it be residential, commercial? I know you're focused on residential, but how many existing appraisers, if you had 10 random appraisers, would be encouraging to that young person to say, yeah, this is a good field? What do you think today?
I would hope that it's a high number, and maybe similar to, other fields like accountants or attorneys. I would definitely say it's been a very good career for me over the last 35, 40 years. I think there's an awful lot of opportunities for new appraisers coming in, maybe not to do the same job the same way. You and I were talking about mechanics. We had mechanics 40 years ago working on a different car than they work on today. Appraisers are going to do different assignments using different technologies and processes going forward. Those appraisers that see the benefit of learning different ways to do the same thing are going to flourish in this environment.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny. You talk about industries doing other things, and I often look at accountants. So I was at a security seminar, technology security seminar, high level, enterprise level, and there's these great speakers, like FBI guy was talking about security, somebody else from like the CIA, somebody else from just these various security folks, IT security. And I looked in the crowd next to me, it was my accountant. Like, what are you doing here? This is an IT security seminar. I'm here because I have a tech company. Why are you here? He's like, well, Jeff, my customers are worried about ransomware. They're worried about their data. They're worried about IT security. So I'm here to learn so I can go back to my customer. And from an appraisal standpoint, my brain just went, wow, what a great attitude, to your point about bringing additional value beyond, you doing your taxes and auditing or whatever those guys do. I thought that was amazing. What, where do we go from here? You mentioned what we're winning at, you mentioned our challenges, but looking forward, what do you recommend we do?
More than anything, Jeff, I think appraisers just need to have an open mind and be very willing to learn new technologies. I went to the dentist a month ago and had to have a crown replaced. And I was anticipating this, icky cement that gets put in your mouth, and then you come back 2 weeks later and you get the tooth put in. But the dentist, to my surprise, fired up his 3D printer and had a tooth at the same I never left the chair. And I had a very pleasant experience. But the dentist was, very cutting edge, willing to adopt and adapt to new technology. And appraisers need to be willing to do that as well. Having a firm understanding of USPAP, a willingness to try new technology like computer vision or a web-based appraisal software system, having bifurcated appraisal inspections where someone else goes out to the property, understanding why we should feel comfortable or how we become comfortable with that information and incorporate that into our reports. It's going to be the same thing, but done a little different. The dentist and hygienist don't do the same jobs, but they work together to provide the same service. And I think we're going to see more of that team approach or bifurcation in the process. appraisers that are willing to adopt to that are going to be very successful. So open mind in general.
Great, great. Well, Tony, I appreciate your time today. And thanks for your time, and thank you for joining me on the pod.
Thank you, Jeff, for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.